Welcome to the really useful podcast. My name is Christian Cawley, and with me it is Ben Stegner, and we are here to translate tech news for you, make things that are important to you digestible, as opposed to just looking like headlines on techie websites that don't really matter to you. Because it turns out a lot of these things really do matter to you. Ben, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm ready to talk some tech, and I like translate. I like that. Take the
Yeah.
boring headlines and tell you why you should care and have some fun with it too. So I'm ready to go.
Good man, good man. We're this is really useful podcast number 5. Last week we were live on YouTube. It was who was it? It was me and Gavin. Uh, I forgot who it was. It was myself and Gavin last week, and we were live on YouTube. And that podcast is available to listen to on Anchor, which hosts our podcast, on iTunes, which is probably where most people get it. Also on Spotify and a few other places. As mentioned, it's on YouTube, and we're going to be bringing you the rest of our podcasts onto YouTube. And this one will also be on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube later, hi there, welcome. We are very happy to welcome over 430 subscribers in the past week, which I'm absolutely blown over by.
That's very exciting. Yeah, I did my own podcast years ago. I don't think I had nearly that many listens a week. So if you've subscribed, thanks, and hope you enjoy the ride.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Right. So in this week's really useful podcast, we're going to be looking at a few news items and then a few topical, not topical items, kind of things that you can do to just help you out or to give you insight into things. First of all, we're going to be looking at stickers on WhatsApp. Whether you use WhatsApp or you know a younger person who does, this might explain something for you. We're going to be looking at Google's new take on helping you manage your privacy, and how to sell a phone very, very quickly indeed. We'll also be talking about how you can play some retro games on your phone with very little effort, how to manage your PC operating temperature and why a hot PC is bad. And also, we're going to be talking about YouTube comments, which is probably pretty topical actually, as it goes, isn't it?
I
Beyond
think so.
YouTube and into other social networks. Let's kick off though with WhatsApp. I've only been using WhatsApp for a few months, and I use it mainly to chat with an old school friend of mine who, like me, has a great admiration for Monty Python, and we basically exchange quotes. Um, uh, Now, there's this thing, Ben. You're a little younger than me, and I say that to make myself appear less old than I am. Uh, you probably use WhatsApp more than me. I'm pretty sure you know a bit more about stickers than I do. Now, my kids use stickers. They're bits of paper or maybe plastic with an adhesive side. That's not what this is it?
Right. No, this is the digital sticker. So, yeah, I'm not like the biggest WhatsApp user, but I do use it and Telegram has stickers too. So, essentially, what stickers are, it's kind of the next evolution beyond like emojis. So, if you've been around in the texting lingo for a while, you know that emoticons were kind of the first wave. It was just the text sum, so it was like the colon and the open parenthesis or whatever. And then when we got to smartphones, we have emoji, which are like the little, not animated faces, but like the cartoon faces for anything you could want, you know, a smile or just a cup of coffee or whatever. So stickers are now the next generation, and they are sort of just like a fun little picture you can slap into a chat. So with WhatsApp, and they're on iMessage as well, Telegram. Basically, you can download a sticker pack that all have some sort of theme, and you can use them to jazz up a chat. So you'll find all sorts of goofy stickers, whether it's animals or like characters from a movie or a game or something. So basically, if you're bored with emoji, stickers let you react to messages and spruce up the chat even more.
Okay,
That's
so
that's their use.
if I just go into a chat, it's basically, you're putting in a message in, and then where you would put in a smiley or whatever, that's where you put in your sticker, is it?
Right, yeah. I think
Yeah.
there's a stickers button in the newest version, and then
Okay.
you there's I'm not sure in
Yes,
WhatsApp. I
yes,
haven't
got it.
used it since the update. But in other messaging apps, like you can add them right through there, and then I think you download packs. Sometime there's some that for free, and then some are paid. If you wanted to do that for some reason, I know Telegram
Okay.
has a lot of fun ones. So Telegram has ones that are like old art, or like, just goofy, like Mr. Muscle Man, and it's him doing all these different poses. So
Okay, what I've just done. I just got it up on my phone from a conversation I was having with my sister a few days ago. And in the absence of a professional production crew and vision mixer, I'm just going to show you um, the button on my phone there. So there's my phone, and it's the second button along, just above There's a GIF, and then there's the sticker button, and there's some stickers there that you can. Can you see that, Ben?
the screen's a little bright, so it's a little
Yeah.
hard to see, but
How about that angle a little bit better?
it's I can almost make it out. It's still pretty bright,
Okay.
but yeah.
Yeah, well, that's auto brightness on phones and cameras for you. Helpful, isn't it? So I suppose that is quite interesting. I think it's just the name stickers is kind of, for want of a better name, really. But
Yeah.
yeah, it seems easy enough to use.
In iMessage, you can put them like on top of a message, which I find kind of weird. Like you can put like a haha or something like over top of someone's message, which is strange because I mean, you can't, it's kind of hard to read. So maybe that's why they're called stickers. Probably a better name for them, but that works, I guess.
Sure. Okay. So yeah, so WhatsApp making things a little bit more enjoyable and fun, I suppose. Now then, Google, the those bastions of free speech and openness. A lot of people have found over the past few years that their data is being stored by Google. They have a trail. You have a trail that you leave online, and every site that you go to, whether or not it's through YouTube, beg your pardon, whether or not it's through Google or not, there is something tracking you. It might be adverts, it might be a login system, it might be Google, and everything you do on Google, every search you make gets recorded. Now, Google have decided to make it easier to get rid of its log of your search history. I wonder whether before we should probably just go into that a little bit. As related on makeuseof.com, if you visit the Google homepage and and you need to be signed in, you go to control your data in Google search, you then go to a page of information and options. And here you'll see your search activity, and you'll have the opportunity to view all search activity and Google activity, which will also include things that you've done on an Android phone.
Sure. Or YouTube.
Or YouTube, yeah. And then there's various delete options there. I do wonder whether maybe maybe it might be just the better idea if Google didn't record any of this.
Yeah, I mean that's the idea behind DuckDuckGo.
Yeah.
As we've talked about the site many times. I think I remember when I think it was Justin who used to write for us wrote an article about why he was switching to DuckDuckGo, and he's talked about how, and I can relate to this, like when so many people like your Google search history is like a train of thought almost. Like if it's like,
Mm,
oh my, my knee hurts, what maybe I'm getting a disease, like my wrist hurts, am I getting arthritis or whatever? And you're typing in my wrist hurts, what does this mean? Or like you're thinking about some movie you saw and you Google a line from the movie, all that type of thing. When you think about like that they have access to all that and they can see like your train of thought and what you're searching for. I mean, what you search for can really show what you're thinking. If you're searching for something about pain or you're searching for some kind of like emotional or I'm lonely or this or that. So
yeah.
I think that's why even if you use Google for looking for information a lot of the time, I think it can be good to have DuckDuckGo or a backup to search like embarrassing stuff like that. But it is crazy to be able to follow that trail so
Yeah.
closely.
I'm surprised more people don't use DuckDuckGo. I've used it, and while it's different to Google, it's perfectly good at delivering good results. So I am a little bit baffled as to why it's not more widely used. But then I suppose if Google, like Facebook and a couple of other areas online, kind of is the internet for so many people.
I do find it interesting, like a couple of different facets. Like I think part of it is that people stick with the default. Like most people are probably used to, when they get a new computer, they install Chrome, and okay, because Edge or Internet Explorer sucks, as the mindset, and then Chrome comes with Google, and people are used to Google. But then I've seen people who, when they get like a search hijacker installed and it changes their homepage to some crap fake version of Google, like they don't notice. So I
Hmm.
don't know. I think a lot of it is just people aren't aware of DuckDuckGo, but
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know. Maybe some
definitely.
people just don't think about I think there's something about seeing all that Google search history and like other things like with the Amazon Echo, you can go in and listen to your past clips. Like being able to see all that and replay it is kind of creepy in a way you don't think about when you're just quickly Googling stuff in a
Yeah, I
daily
agree. I
basis.
wonder if people kind of, because I kind of feel as though I possibly do this, and that is when you've got a new Windows machine at least, and you've got the default browser. Do you think I've just spent X hundred quids on this computer, this Windows license? Maybe I'll give Google a chance to come in. Maybe that's a subconscious thing that's going on. I don't know. Rather than using Edge, because Internet Explorer's like gone, well, mostly gone anyway. It's certainly not the recommended Microsoft browser. I do wonder if people do maybe have that going on. I mean, is that something you've ever come across?
Like I
Is
had to
that?
pay Microsoft for the license. I'm not using Edge type of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. So I'll use Chrome instead.
Yeah, I think I honestly it could be a little bit of that. I'm trying to think of like the average, like I'm trying to think of a user who's just going to use what's on the default versus someone who has like a little bit of knowledge. I think for most people, Google is so synonymous with search that when they see Bing or whatever, they know something's not right. Like it's just you're supposed to use Google to search.
Yeah,
Even if they change, I mean, even if they use Edge, if they open up Edge and they search Bing for Google or they go to google.com in their URL bar, I'm pretty sure Google pops up and says, "Do you want to set this as your default search engine or set it as your home page?" And then if they do that, they're using Google from there on out. That's what I think it is most of the time, but I never thought about that. That could be true too, with just not wanting to use Microsoft.
yeah.
I think Internet Explorer has a stigma, and I think because the Edge logo looks like Internet Explorer, most people are conditioned just don't use that.
Yeah, I think also going off on a slight tangent, I think Bing is still an awful name.
It is kind of awkward.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's obviously like, oh, there's the result, Bing, but maybe it needs a better name. You know, it's a silly word, but it's a real word. Google word. Google, silly word, real word. Or was it a real word? Was Google a real word?
It's spelled differently. I think it's
Yeah, yeah,
GUGOL or
yeah, yeah.
something. It means
That's
like
yeah, yeah.
12. It's a very, very big number.
Big number. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it just needs better, better, better concept, better PR. Does Bing? It is. I haven't used Bing in ages. I mean, I suppose I imagine there's Bing technology behind the Windows Store. I don't know for definite, but there must be something of that in there. So I probably have been using Bing, but consciously I haven't used
Right.
Bing in a long time since I stopped using Windows Phone, basically.
I think that Bing has some good features. Like the Bing, it used to be called Microsoft Bing Rewards. Now it's Microsoft Rewards. It's not bad. It rewards you for searching, and there's like little trivia questions and stuff every day you can do. So that's all right. And it's like I don't use it very much, but I've its video like pop out features are decent. Like if you're searching for videos on Bing, you can like preview a video without leaving the page pretty easily. So it's not terrible. And you probably know Yahoo is powered by Bing too, like
Right.
Yahoo's search engine, which I don't think very many people use consciously, is just a wrapper on Bing. So it has something. I just don't think that it's enough for most people to stop using Google.
I would. I mean, I expected Microsoft to buy Yahoo some time ago. Um, that is a better name than Bing. That's a name that people recognize and remember and probably have some affinity for and affection for. So I do wonder whether that might come along at some point with Microsoft because they have been quite happy to spend cash over the past few years, haven't they?
Yeah.
With LinkedIn, for instance. Do you know this takes me back, and I am again going on a tangent. My very first internet online experience. I'm going to ask you yours first. Because and if
Mine.
there's any of our listeners who also want to get involved in this, because this is a fascinating topic of recalling your very first web experience, the first website you visited. What was the first website you visited, Ben?
The first website I visited, I can't remember that specifically. I remember when we first got online, it was probably Windows 98 then.
Hmm.
And I remember when I was a kid playing online games with my dad, like, but we were both sitting at the same computer. There was a site we used to go to called Boxer Jam, and it had like word linguistic games. Like there was I
Right.
forget some of the names of them. It was like out of order, and it was like you were playing against other people. I mean, it was very simple. It was like you're rearranging words and stuff, and there's like
Right.
a leaderboard on the side as you're playing. But I remember doing that. I can't say this is the first site I went to, but those are some of my earliest memories,
Okay.
like when we first got a computer that I could remember.
Okay. Um, no, I may be slightly off with this. Certainly in the World Wide Web era, as opposed to, the bulletin boards and stuff prior to that. The first time I went on the web was I was visiting my friend, the same one I mentioned earlier, actually, at Sheffield University, here in the UK. And he had to go to lectures, so he left me in the library, which was kitted out with these huge 386s and 486s. And he gave me I think he lined me up I think he sort of like gave me, yeah, he had to put his password in and everything, and he gave me access, and the homepage was excite.com, which is like Yahoo, which was around at the same time, and AOL. Although AOL was also a ISP, it had like an online presence and everything. um but this was the age of like the web portal, so like it was a
Yeah,
search engine that also like gave you the news, gave you suggestions, showed you
the
the usual,
weather. Yeah.
yeah, all that kind of thing. And so from Excite, the first thing I Googled was Doctor Who. And this is back in 1996 or 7, 6. We'll say 6, 1996. Which, Doctor Who hadn't been on air for a few years, and there was a new Doctor Who coming along. So I was quite interested in finding out a bit more about that. So, yeah. But everyone has a different story about the first time on the web, and it's quite a fascinating thing.
It is like it's like how it evolved. Like you can almost
Yeah.
kind of tell, like when it, even if someone didn't remember, you can almost kind of tell when their first time online was just based on like, I was on this website or I used this service, like stuff that might not have existed earlier or later than
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
I do
yeah.
remember as a kid, I don't remember exactly when this was, maybe like 2000 or 2001 or so. I remember, like I don't know if I don't know if I didn't know about Google or what, but I like when I wanted to like go to a website, it would just be like, I've been playing the game Crash Bandicoot, so I just went to crashbandicoot.com or whatever. It was just like, is there a website here? No? Okay, we'll just try something else. Like it was like
Right.
you weren't
Yeah.
Googling to find stuff. It was just like go to whatever.com. I remember that when I was younger.
Wow. Now my kids, they're 7. They've been using the internet at school since they were 5. Obviously guided by teachers. And that's quite crazy. But just something just hit me, and that's teletext, which is I think you had it in parts of the US
Doesn't
a
sound
long
familiar
time
to me.
ago. What it is, it comes through the TV, through the aerial. We we have it in parts of the UK still, and there are various projects to sort of revive it. And it's a text service. It comes through the TV and it hides it comes in the TV signal, putting it in its most basic terms. In the UK, we had it from sort of mid 70s till about 10 years. No, actually, this decade it was running, and that would give you sports news, and it would give you national news and headlines, and there'd be games. You'd be able to order book holidays through it, things like that. And everything would have its own page number, and you would remember the page numbers. You'd get to the point where, like for instance, I think sport was it 600 on BBC. CFAX, Teletext Sport 600, possibly 300. Yeah, 300. I think it was 300, for instance. So you got 300 on a Saturday afternoon to check the football scores, for instance.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so that was kind of an internet-like experience before the internet, and they definitely had it. They had a similar system in France, but that was connected to actual telephones with displays, and they could do more. They could like do banking and things like that through that.
Oh wow.
Very similar
Huh.
system. Yeah. Uh, Okay, we have gone way off track, so let's bring things back onto our plan, our menu of information for you, dear listener. Classic Sega games on your smartphone. Doesn't matter whether you're using Android or using iPhone. Um, if you're a lover of Sonic the Hedgehog or Golden Axe, which is a fantastic arcade game when I was a kid. The old stand-up arcade machines. I say old because you can still get them, but that was one of the classics. There's things like Crazy Taxi on the
Yeah.
on the Dreamcast. Uh, and there's a couple of fighting games like Revenge of Shinobi, which I just couldn't handle when I was a kid, so I never bothered it. And Space Harrier. Space Harrier was another great arcade machines in the 80s. These games have all kind of had various revivals over the years, but now there's this whole system called Sega Forever, which is on iPhone and Android, and you can get these games free on your smartphone or tablet. There is an option to pay, which would get rid of adverts and allow you to save to the cloud and save your progress, which obviously is something you couldn't do on an arcade machine or on
Right.
any other 8-bit, 16-bit platform. Save your program, unless it was like a text adventure or a point and click adventure. These are fantastic. I've gone through a load of these for makeuseof.com, and I've spent a bit of time playing them all. I spent time playing Sonic the Hedgehog, and let me tell you, I hate Sonic the Hedgehog with as great a passion now as I did in 1991.
You know what? I'm not a Sonic fan either. I don't hate Sonic.
Yeah,
It's actually a very interesting. Like, if there's a game I would want to like get someone's like figure out where they're coming from as like what games they loved as a kid or whatever.
mm,
Sonic would be what I would ask about. Would be one of
right.
them. I never played, so not to get into a ton of history, but I didn't have a Genesis when I was younger. I played the Sonic games through the Sonic Mega Collection on the GameCube, which had a lot of his classics. Not every single one, but it had the first three. Um, and I love platformers, and I don't think that Sonic's maybe it's just what I like out of level design, but I don't find Sonic engaging. I don't
Yeah,
like the speed is cool, but when you slow down, it's like when you speed, you go through the level so fast that you can't even tell what's going on, and when you go
yeah,
slow, it's like laborious. It's just like so slow.
yeah.
And there are parts where that are super fun. I've heard Sonic Mania is really good. The new like the reviving. So I do want to try that. I haven't tried that yet, but yeah, I love platformers, and Sonic has never grabbed me. I've tried to play through Sonic 2 again recently. I just don't. That wouldn't be one I recommend if you're going to get into this collection.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right with that. I would agree 100% with everything that you've just said there, really. It's there was a game on the Amiga around the same time, kind of a Sonic inspired game called Zool, which was like this kind of Marvin the Martian sort of a physical appearance of, and he basically did the same thing as Sonic. Instead of spinning that way, he spun that way to break things
Oh,
up and whatever. And I think that was less boring and laborious doing the slow bits. He was a little bit fast when things were going a bit better, and the spinning stuff would give you a bit of a thrill and clear stuff up quickly. I think I think they knew then that there was a little bit of a problem with Sonic. If it's too fast, you miss stuff. If it's too slow, you can start getting discouraged.
right.
I played a while ago. I was looking into emulating Dreamcast games on the Raspberry Pi, and I played the Dreamcast Sonic game, and that was absolutely a dreadful sort of 3D game. It
Yeah,
really,
Sonic Adventure.
yeah,
That game is very. I had Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, which was like the remaster, not remaster, but like the deluxe version on the
okay,
GameCube. But the first Sonic Adventure, same thing. It's really interesting to me how when you look back at Sonic's past, there are so many games where it's like this game, Sonic Adventure had growing pains compared to like Mario 64, which is still pretty well revered today. And even a lot of the modern Sonic games just really aren't that. Even Sonic fans say they're really not that good.
mm,
It's interesting to me how, like, when you look at series that have had a good game after good game, and Sonic has so many missteps. I mean, again, I don't hate Sonic, but one of my favorite YouTubers is a huge Sonic fan. I love hearing him talk about like why he loves it and everything, but it's never really grabbed me. But
yeah.
yeah, he's a polarizing character.
It certainly is. So there are. I mean, I've compiled a list of 10, but there are more than 10 classic Sega games that you can play for free, legally, because they're released by Sega, on your phone or tablet. Those games that you were playing as a kid, they are there to play, sitting in iTunes, the Apple App Store, beg your pardon, the iPhone App Store, or on Google Play. So I wouldn't like you to leave the podcast now, but if you're watching us on YouTube, just open another tab and have a look while we carry on, because we're now going to have something a bit more practical. PC temperatures. A lot of PCs run into trouble because they're too hot. And heat is often caused by dust and reduced airflow, which then causes more heat, which then slows down your computer. And often, if you've got your computer, and we're talking like towers, although we're also talking laptops as well, if you're prone to kind of stuffing your laptop under the sofa or down the side of the sofa, or just keeping it in a generally dusty area, heat is bad for computers. It slows things right down. And, there are a number of kind of internal things that you can do. Well, we're not going to go into that because you don't want to do anything like that, do you? What you want is a quick and easy method of speeding your computer up if you suspect it's getting hot. And basically, I think I know what the answer is. Ben, what would you say the answer was to that?
Keep it from getting hot. In general, I would say, try to blow it out with some canned air once in a while to get rid of dust, and don't run super intensive programs all at the same time. If that's most computers should be able to handle that. But yeah, dust is the biggest thing. Yeah. I had some friends in this is, you just have been working to say this, but I had some friends in college too, where like they gave us like sleeves, to carry our computers to and from classes and everything. And sometimes you would put your computer to sleep, but it would get woken up by like a program that was checking for something, or like you would bump a button on your mouse or whatever, and it would wake up in your bag. And if you do that, and your computer's awake in your bag for an hour and you don't realize, that can be really bad too. But any kind of blocked ventilation is dangerous.
Yeah, definitely. It is dust, it is ventilation, it is those holes on your computer that are getting clogged up with dust. I have seen some absolute sights of blocked ventilation, blocked power supply units on the back of computer towers, which obviously isn't ideal either, not just from a computer power point of view, but also from the general electrical point of view. And certainly powerful vacuum cleaners and compressed canned air, they are vital. But also, it's not just the computers that you need to keep dust free, it's also the environment, the surrounding area, pets as well. Sadly, creatures that tend to leave a lot of hair behind, that they can also be a problem. I remember cleaning out a computer that I think my dad had got hold of, and it was actually the entire system was clogged with dust and animal hair. And it was shutting itself down after 5 minutes every time you booted it up. And this is what happens if you've got a computer that is switching itself off, is slowing down horrendously. Do check for dust and perhaps animal hair, and definitely vacuum it out with a good powerful vacuum cleaner, like a Dyson or that kind of cyclone device. Use the kind of compressed air, as Ben says, but also then move your computer into a different place. Carpets are bad for computers as well, so if you do have it on a carpet or rug, there is a reduced airflow around the machine there. Keeping it too close to walls, again, that's bad.
And it's the same thing with like game consoles too. I wrote an article a little bit ago that it was a detailed guide on how to clean out a PS4. It's similar with pretty much anything. Particularly with the game system, could be with if you have a desktop for a media computer or something. If it's in an enclosed space, if you shut the door and it's in a little drawer in your entertainment center, that's going to restrict the flow of air and the heat's going to build up. So that's no good. So if you have a desktop and it's sitting on carpet, you can get little like feet to put on the computer to raise it up a little bit, especially because most fans blow down for the power supply. So you don't want to have, obviously, the fan having zero or very little room to blow out the heat that's coming from the power supply.
Yeah, definitely. I personally, I would suggest a hard, solid, flat surface rather than carpet or any other type of fabric. But obviously, you're restricted by where you live. But do put your computer in a place where it can get good airflow around it and through it, and is dust free or minimal dust around, and animal hair free as well. And you should find that things tend to speed up. I mean, it may be that damage has been done already to the CPU or the motherboard or the hard drives or the memory. Fingers crossed it hasn't. They're pretty resilient these days, computers. So
yeah, it'll probably shut down before damage is done to protect itself. But if you do it over and over, or if it gets extreme, if you live in a really hot area, it could be damaged beyond repair. But hopefully, it's just if it shuts off, let it cool down and then take action.
Absolutely. We have a final topic now, which is around the topic of comments on social media. I think specifically YouTube, but this tends to be a topical item, which we kind of didn't realize at the time, did we?
Not really, no.
No, but following the events at the weekend, the Gab website, which is a kind of Twitter-esque, or is it? It's kind of, it's a weird, yeah, it's kind of Twitter-esque social media site, social networking site, which is been ditched by its web host because of hosting a comment by the perpetrator of a massacre at the weekend. There is a kind of, then they've been taken offline, and they're moving hosts, so they've got another host lined up. We're talking about one comment by one murderer on one website, which not very many people use, when we then have websites that many millions of people, possibly billions, I don't know, use, and they seem to be getting a buy on hosting threatening, abusive, harmful terrorist literature, anti-Semitic, racist, homophobic, transphobic messages. There is Ben's produced an article called 15 of the Worst YouTube Comments That Really Need to Die. Maybe I should pass it to you. I feel that there needs to be an improvement in discourse online, but I'm probably not alone in that. And like many other people, I don't really see how that could happen. Is there anything that you picked up writing this that you thought, well, sites could be doing this, and this?
Yeah, well, I guess I'm going to kind of split what I want to say into two different parts here, because my article was kind of more like less like serious stuff. It was more just kind of like dumb comments. If we'll just go through a couple here quickly. Most YouTube videos you'll see, someone comments first because they have to tell everybody that they were the first one to the video, which is dumb because you can't even sort comments by which ones are newest. I think it's just like people want to get thumbs up on their comments, which is pointless anyway, because it's, is anyone else listening to this in 2018, or did anyone else find this music video from whatever game 10 years ago, or anyone else, they've liked this band from the beginning or whatever. So I think that in general YouTube comments are just kind of low quality, but on a larger scale with comments, I think that that's something overall. I've written an article about this, like we alluded to with the free speech thing. I think that a lot of, how do I phrase this? A lot of sites, social media sites like Facebook and Twitter and everything, they have like safe harbor status because they're not responsible for what their users post. So if someone goes on and posts something really nasty or hateful or anything like that, Facebook isn't endorsing that opinion or whatever, so they're not held responsible for it. But once they start curating and promoting this or that, like they're selecting what they're showing any of these sites, then they don't really have that safety of what, we weren't endorsing that or that type of thing. So I do think it's interesting with Gab. We talked about it a little bit before the show. I have a Gab account. I've barely spent 5 minutes on it, but the fact that I think the scary part is the fact with Gab that they're being blacklisted by like they've already, Apple and Google have already kicked the Gab app off of their app stores because it has, hateful content or whatever. Just because they don't like it. So, people always say, well, if you don't like Twitter's rules or you don't like Facebook's rules, then just build your own website. Well, then Gab tries to do that, and then they're not really able to because they're getting blacklisted by them. PayPal won't work with them. I think so. Regardless of how you feel about the content that's being posted on Gab or whatever, I think it seems strange to single them out when, like you said, there's horrible stuff that's posted on YouTube, Twitter every second of every day.
Yeah, I mean, there's dark places on the internet, as we know, but Reddit, that has some bad places, some bad conversations, sure. And again, nothing happens there. Facebook, yeah, you can report comments and things, but quite often nothing gets done. Twitter, until recently, you and this is in the past week, because Twitter have just revised something, as we spoke about in the last podcast. They've revised the rules and they're claiming to be more proactive about complaints now. So maybe Twitter improving things, but yeah, why send one site offline and not the others? It sets a bad precedent. It makes the playing field not level.
Sure.
And it's does this give those other sites the excuse to just carry on ignoring stuff? Aren't the bigger sites, surely they are more they need to be more responsible. They need to be setting the precedent. They need to be setting like the right PR for this, the tone
for a smaller site to follow. Yeah, I mean, I think that I'm generally more in the like not huge restrictions camp. So I mean, obviously, I'm not saying there should be like terrorist activity and stuff. I'm not saying that, but like when I see some idiot say something rude or racist or whatever you want to, any kind of all that on Twitter or YouTube, I don't think, why is Twitter allowing this person to be here, or like why is I don't think most people really, unless it's like some major well-known figure. I don't think if I see some small-time moron comment on YouTube, I don't think I'm holding YouTube responsible for this.
Sure.
But I think that they need to take maybe reporting more seriously. I mean, you think in a company as big as them, they would have the resources to devote to reviewing claims or reporting comments that are abusive or whatever. So I don't know. It's a really sticky problem. I feel like what I think the biggest problem I have with it is that the big site, the web hosting providers and Google and Apple are kind of ganging up on these smaller sites, and it's like a different standard, which I think is the problem. I don't hold YouTube responsible for stupid comments, so why should Gab go offline for someone doing something stupid?
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. It is. We can't have. I mean, if you were using Gab, and you probably weren't, because not many people were, this probably isn't going to affect you. But wider, taking this wide and taking another step, it is, as I said at the beginning of this segment, it is important to consider online discourse in a more intelligent way, and maybe, I don't want to say, what grandparents tend to say, if you haven't got anything nice to say, don't say it. But I think it certainly pays to maybe not send your first comment. Maybe think about it. Maybe delete it before you send it, or save it as a draft and go back to it later and consider whether it really was as smart as you thought it was, or as funny as you thought it was.
I think another part of it too, and this is something, like I said, with the thumbs up on YouTube, upvotes on Reddit, I think part of it with online discourse, like you're saying, is that the focus is so much on getting out like the snappy response or the hot take or whatever. It's not like, because like Twitter, I mean, even with the doubled character limit that they introduced last year or whenever that was, or earlier this year, it's not like you see an idea, like even like in the perfect world of Facebook, like it's about discussion and commenting. Like how often do you see someone post an article or an opinion about whatever political, social thing, and then you have like a reasonable discussion. You never see that. It's
No,
always
not
like
no.
someone on Twitter is posting like a zippy take against whatever, political figure or whatever social issue of the day, and then it's a bunch of people retweeting and saying, "Oh, you go, man," or "This is great." It's not really. It's kind of just like rooting for your side. It's not like
Yeah,
a good way to talk and just have a discussion. It's not like we're trying, even if you're not going to change anyone's mind. It's just not a healthy, like, here's why I feel this way. Is this good or bad? Let's talk about it.
yeah. I think
It's yeah,
yeah. Social media is certainly a lot of people talk about certain politicians who may have contributed to things becoming more polarized or partisan or extreme. Social media cannot be given a pass on this. Social media is the home of people taking extreme positions on things and arguing their points when the facts are staring them right in the face.
right. And
So,
it's just not it's a very, and with the tools that social media provides, I'm thinking of Twitter, but I mean it's pretty much everywhere. Like retweeting and stuff like that, and there's all the blocking and everything. If blocking in my mind is like if it's a spammer or some idiot that's
yeah,
sending a bunch of messages that are like just being an idiot, that's one thing. But like the whole, I tweeted something, you disagreed with it, so I'm going to call you a troll and block you. Like that doesn't really get anywhere. I think that it's
yeah,
very easy to just, I'm going to follow all the people that agree with me. I'm going to block anyone that doesn't agree with me, and this is how the world is. That's not a very good thing any way you
no,
slice it.
yeah. I think no one to drag this section out any longer. I think there is. Yeah, I pretty much agree with all of that. I'm beginning to feel the number of hours I've been awake today. So yeah, so that does bring us to the end of this really useful podcast. I think if you're going to take anything away from this podcast this week, it is you can go and play your favorite classic Sega games on your phone. You can stop your computer from overheating just using a vacuum cleaner and a can of air without having to open it. And you really probably need to improve your online discourse if you bother with that kind of thing. And it's a lot is made of social media, and a lot of companies hanker after their social media audience, or even handkerchief. In the case of Kleenex and the man-sized tissues, that was the worst pun ever, but I'm going with it. Uh, most people aren't on social media. That's the amazing thing. To find companies sort of like spotting something that a small group of people disagree with or want to happen, and then following that to gain short-term benefits, really doesn't feel great for the majority. It really just seems odd and strange and a bit cliquey. However, I digress. Do you know we didn't talk about selling your phone on
No, we
eBay
didn't. We skipped that.
instantly? So we should probably just quickly do that before we do depart and go our separate ways and leave you waiting for our next really useful podcast. If you've got an old phone, there's different ways you can get rid of an old phone. You could basically, once you've done the factory reset, you could give it to someone to use. You could use it as a webcam. You could use it as a security cam. You could use it. You could give it to a child to use it as a tablet or something like that. You could give it to charity for third world places, which will, the beneficiaries of those phones will be, getting people online in third world countries is pretty important.
Sure.
However, eBay have now made it easy to sell the phone, and basically they've done a few upgrades in their systems over the past few years at eBay. For instance, it's a lot easier to buy car parts now simply by entering your number plate, tapping into, gaining access to national registration databases around the world, North America, UK, and Europe. eBay is able to give you the information that you need about your car and make sure you're buying what's correct for your car and not for like the older model or the next model.
Right. Amazon does that too, and it's
Yeah,
definitely appreciated.
definitely. And eBay have started giving a much easier way of listing a phone. It's not quite in the same degree, but it's easy to, you can do them. They've invented templates on eBay a few years ago, which makes it quicker to list things. And now there's a phone-specific template, basically, which you can access from a computer or even from your phone to sell the actual phone that you're using for selling your phone on the phone on eBay for phoning or something like that. Instant selling isn't available for all phones, with only a selection of relatively recent handsets eligible. This is no doubt because these are the big hitters, the ones that people are looking for.
They don't want people selling a bunch of old junkers, and
Exactly.
they have no way to get rid of them.
Yeah, I say accidentally for an assignment for a pitch. I actually bought an old Windows phone.
Oh boy.
A couple of years ago, Windows Mobile 6, in fact, which was slightly annoying because I had so many of them back in the day. I was quite surprised to find that I didn't have any of them left. So I bought one of these, and it turned out the screen didn't work, so I couldn't actually do what I wanted to do, which was such a pain. But yeah, if you have a phone that you want to get rid of, and it's like a recent iPhone or a recent Samsung or some other big hitting phone, eBay have the tools for you to do that really quickly. As with everything we've discussed in this week and previous really useful podcasts, we will provide you with the links that you need to reference our discussions in the show notes. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening through iTunes or any of the other sites that host podcasts, we'd like to thank you for joining us. Please share this to anyone that you feel would benefit from anything we've discussed today. I'm thinking people keen on retro games but don't want to mess around with like specialist systems, people who maybe have a computer that keeps switching itself off, and maybe even people who aren't keen on Google recording their activity online. Please subscribe to us on YouTube, subscribe to us on iTunes as well. If you're on iTunes, leave us a review. That would be magnificent. Any way you want to get in touch with us to suggest topics for conversation or just give some feedback, you can leave a comment on YouTube, of course, or you can contact myself on Twitter. I am the Gadget Monkey. I'm also on Facebook with the same name. Just send us a message. Ben, your Twitter handle?
It is Stegnersaurus, Stegner.
Oh, it makes me laugh. I love it.
Saurus. Yeah, I use that pretty much everywhere. I started swapping it to Stegsaurus after a while, just for like PlayStation and stuff, where I don't really want to have my whole name, my whole last name on it. But yeah, that's I've been using that for quite a while. So
that's fantastic. That's just the best nickname, I think. Well, for anyone who likes dinosaurs, anyway, I suppose.
I think it is. Yeah, it's hard to come up with like everyone for like their email and their like online like their like name on whatever online game or whatever. Like always, you have to use some funny thing from your childhood or whatever. So I'm glad I have that one. It's like just used for everything. I don't have to think about it.
Definitely, it's brilliant. So thank you for joining us. We will be back next week. There's something planned, I think, so I'll keep that under wraps for now, and I'll follow me on Twitter, and I'll maybe share that closer to the time.
Exciting.
Yeah. Until then, from Ben and myself, it's goodbye.
Take care. Goodbye.
Oh, a little bit.